They never tell you this when you're growing up, that some of the deepest pain you'll ever feel won't come from tragedy or betrayal. It will come from expectations. The ones you built in silence. The ones that kept you awake at night. The ones that made you believe something beautiful were waiting around the corner. And then nothing. I used to think disappointment came from the outside. Those people let me down. That life failed me. But the truth is harsher and more liberating. Disappointment begins inside. It's the shadow of a fantasy we created. A fantasy that life didn't agree to fulfill. Think about it. How many times have you suffered because someone didn't act the way you hoped? Because a dream didn't play out the way you imagined? Because you gave more than you received and expected the universe to balance the scales? That's the trap. Expectation is a silent contract we write and sign without the other party ever knowing it exists. And then we punish them for breaking it. That's not just unfair. It's self-sabotage. I remember being in a relationship years ago where I gave everything. Time, energy, attention, love. I told myself that if I give all of this, I'll be valued. I'll be seen. I'll be chosen. But I wasn't. And when it ended, I was furious. Not just at her, but at the world, at myself. It took me months to realize that most of my pain wasn't about what happened. It was about what I expected to happen, what I thought I deserved, what I believed would come back to me. But life doesn't work on emotional math. The universe isn't keeping a scorecard, and most people are too busy carrying their pain to fulfill the stories we silently write in our heads. So I started asking myself something that changed everything. What if expectations are the source of most emotional suffering? What if letting go of them is the real path to peace? Philosophers across centuries have quietly hinted at this. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, warned that suffering comes not from events, but from our judgments about them. Buddhism teaches that desire, attachment to outcomes, is the root of suffering. Even existentialists like Sartre and Camus wrote about the absurdity of trying to force meaning or fairness onto a chaotic universe. They were all circling the same idea. When we expect reality to be anything other than what it is, we create our hell. I know that sounds cold. Doesn't hope matter? Isn't it natural to dream? Yes, but there's a line between having vision and clinging to illusion, and most of us cross it without even realizing it. You expect a friend to be loyal, and they gossip behind your back. You expect a promotion, and someone else gets it. You expect love to stay, and it leaves. And with every unmet expectation, a little part of you hardens or breaks. We start building walls, not realizing that we are the architects of our pain. And it doesn't stop with others. We expect ourselves always to be strong, to always succeed, to never falter. And when we inevitably fall short of these impossible ideals, we punish ourselves harder than anyone else ever could. But here's where the philosophy shifts, where freedom begins. The answer isn't to stop caring. It's to stop demanding. Stop needing the world to behave a certain way for you to feel peace. Let go of emotional conditions. Trade expectations for awareness, for presence, for understanding. When I started practicing this, everything changed. I still made plans, but I stopped clinging to outcomes. I still loved people, but I let them be who they were, not who I imagined they should be. I stopped writing scripts in my head about how life should unfold. And in the quiet that followed, I found a strange kind of strength, not numbness, not indifference, but clarity. There's something incredibly powerful about becoming emotionally untouchable, not because you're closed off, but because you're no longer chained to invisible expectations. You learn to receive life as it is without needing it to justify your hopes. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight. Every day my mind still tries to write those contracts, still whispers, "You deserve more," or "They owe you that." But I catch it, and I smile because I know where that path leads, and I've walked it too many times. There's ancient freedom that lives in acceptance. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop suffering when the dream changes, because it will even our greatest joys carry the seeds of their end. Every relationship ends either in distance or death. Every high eventually fades. Every win comes with new pressure. This isn't pessimism. It's perspective. When you stop resisting it, life becomes clearer, lighter. You stop being at war with reality. So here's the shift. Move from expectation to appreciation, from grasping to observing, from needing to simply being. The more I let go of expectations, the more I started to notice something else. People didn't disappoint me as much. Life didn't shock me as often. I became less reactive, more grounded. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" I began to ask, "What is this here to show me?" That single shift turned disappointments into revelations. When someone ghosted me, it was no longer about my worth. It was about their capacity. When plans fell through, it wasn't betrayal. It was a redirection. And when life didn't give me what I wanted, maybe, just maybe, it was because I didn't need it. Not really. But I'll be honest, there's a cost to letting go of expectations. You lose the emotional drama, the fantasies, the rush of imagined outcomes. There's a silence that follows. And at first, it feels like a loss. But over time, that silence turns into peace, into clarity, into a deep knowing that illusions are no longer controlling you. Because that's what most expectations are, illusions. They're based on assumptions, not facts. Hopes, not agreements. And often they're shaped by childhood wounds we never addressed. Maybe you expected your partner to always make you feel safe because no one did when you were young. Maybe you expected the world to validate your efforts because your parents never did. We carry these invisible scripts into every relationship, every job, every dream. And then life, being life, doesn't follow the script. That's why disappointment hurts so much. It's not just about the present moment. It's about the collapse of a long-built inner world. But what if that collapse is the beginning of freedom? What if, as painful as it is, disappointment is not your enemy, but your teacher? It shows you where you're still attached. You're still giving your power away. Where you're still confusing hope with control. Philosophers like Alan Watts often spoke of the danger of clinging. That to be truly alive is to flow like a river, not a dam. Life isn't something you can hold on to. It's something you move with. And when you try to force it into a shape, it pushes back. Disappointment is that push. It says you're gripping too tightly. Let go. Ends believe that pain could be transformed into strength. That which doesn't destroy us, if faced directly, becomes the forge that sharpens us. But we can't alchemize pain if we keep blaming the world for causing it. We have to own it. See the expectation underneath and release it. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like stopping yourself before you say they should have known better and asking, "Did I ever tell them what I needed?" It looks like catching your mind when it spirals into disappointment and reminding it that this was never promised. It looks like meeting the present raw, unscripted, imperfect, and saying, "I'm here for this, too." The most peaceful people I know aren't the ones who have had the easiest lives. They're the ones who stopped fighting the way things are, who learned to sit inside discomfort without demanding that it change, who lives without the weight of constant emotional bargaining. It's a quiet kind of power, one that doesn't need attention, one that doesn't depend on recognition, one that no one can take from you. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean you settle. It means you stop, measuring your worth by whether life obeys your plan. It means you stop assigning your happiness to things you can't control. It means you begin, maybe for the first time, to live with both feet grounded in what is not what should have been. And that is liberation. So, if you've been disappointed lately by people, by life, even by yourself, take a breath. Look underneath the pain. Ask yourself, what was I expecting? What story did I silently write? And can I let it go? Because every time you do, you grow. You become less reactive, more present, and oddly enough, more powerful. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in the calm, grounded way that says, I can handle life as it comes. Now, let me leave you with this. Disappointment doesn't mean you were wrong to hope. It means you're being invited to see clearly. It's not a failure. It's a reset. And sometimes the things that don't happen are the very things that save us. So the next time life doesn't meet your expectations, don't collapse. Observe, learn, re-enter. There's wisdom in the wreckage. And now I'd love to hear from you. What expectation have you let go of recently that brought you peace? Or what disappointment taught you the most about yourself? Let's open a space in the comments for honest, unfiltered reflection. You never know who might feel less alone because of your story. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe. Here we go beyond surface-level advice and dive into the real work. Self-awareness, emotional resilience, and timeless wisdom for navigating the complexity of being human. Because sometimes the answers we need are found in the very places we try to avoid.